David Bennett.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Just before we talk about the bill, I just want to give a bit of a history lesson for those young people that may be watching this. They've just seen Winston Peters do a speech in this House, and Winston Peters, every speech he does is the same. And I was just going through that speech, and I wrote down exactly what he said, and he said that about the same thing 3 weeks ago, as he said about the same thing 3 years ago. He couldn't say it about something 5 years ago because he wasn't here, but he said the same thing 10 years ago, and he said the same thing 20 years ago. His speeches are all the same. They're all the same. And you listen to his speeches, and they start off. The first two minutes of a Winston Peters speech has been prepared.
Point of order, the Honourable.
Mr Speaker, I know that these rules are pretty broad and pretty loose and pretty lax, but you are required to get up and, at least within the first couple of minutes, say that you understand which bill is before the House, and you might have some remote idea what the debate's about.
Yes, well,
but he is an experience.
He's only been going 48 seconds, and I'm sure he's on. I'm sure he's on to it now, David Bennett.
Mr Speaker, yes, and I'm sure that the member will enjoy when we talk about this bill. But that history lesson, that member had to use a point of order because he knew he was in trouble. The oldest trick in the book by the oldest dog in the house, but it didn't work, did it? So let's go back to that speech, because we heard words about this legislation about better public services, no tangible benefit for mum and dads in New Zealand, all those lines we hear all the time, more government departments, more CEOs, doesn't want contractors, expects it all to be done. What's it? More snouts in the trough. Now, you would know about that, wouldn't you? How long has your snout been in this trough?
Order. Now, that's order. Now, that is completely unnecessary. Yes, and I don't... No, we'll just stop that and be very careful what you say, because you're bringing the Speaker into the debate.
OK, Mr Speaker. But that's the first part of a Winston Peters speech. And then when he gets to minute 2, he waits for someone to interrupt. And Mr Hayes was the interruption this time. And then we get the personal attacks, like saying there's a hard-working provincial MP like Mr Hayes, those personal attacks on Mr Hayes, and that's the next step. But then the third part of a Winston Peters speech. Now, this is the bit you're always waiting and listening for, because there's no way that that member can get through 10 minutes without saying the words cronyism, leaked papers to the media.
Point of order, the Honourable Trevor Mallard.
Mr Speaker, I think we will be on 48 seconds now. It's clear the member has prepared some comments which don't relate to the bill, but he should stop reading those and get back to the bill.
Sure, that's fair comment. And I'll ask the member now to get on to the bill and from now on concentrate on the bill before us.
Yes. Thank you, Mr Speaker. Well, it's my pleasure to speak in regard to the bill and the State Sector and Public Finance Reform Bill. But just want to clarify some of those comments that were made by the previous speaker as well. And we got to 6 minutes of his speech, which, we got the cronyism and then we get the words like stacked with his mates and such like,
I know what look, I've warned the member, if he doesn't come back to the speech, I will terminate the speech.
Okay.
David
Thank
Bennett.
you, Mr Speaker. So this bill is an important bill, and it's good that the Labor Party actually agreed with it. Like, I think in the committee stage, it was good to see that agreement from the Labor Party. They actually worked constructively in the committee to come to some plausible solutions. I think Mr David Cunliffe was leading the Labor Party in that role and worked through the provisions of the bills to make sure that both National and Labor were confident that it retained the rights for state service employees, but also work together in the best interest of getting the bill through this Parliament. And so I'd like to commend this bill to the House, Mr Speaker. It's a shame that the Green Party can't also be supportive of the bill, but it is in the best interest of New Zealand's state sector going forward. Thank you.
The Honourable Clayton Cosgrove.
Well, that was a lesson in how not to do it from that member, Mr Speaker.